Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Comm Central podcast. My name is Miranda. I'm going to be your host today. Today, we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks that you can use throughout your semesters here at San Jose State University to have a successful semester and kind of give you some guidance. We're going to be talking to a faculty member that's going to give us some insider information on how they have a successful semester and also how they balance their work and personal life. It can be a little bit tricky, especially when you're a new student trying to find the balance of putting enough time into schoolwork while also putting enough time into your social life. So they're going to give us some insider information on that. They're also going to be telling us about some resources that are available at San Jose State University and some places that you can reach out to find those resources if you ever need a little bit of help throughout the semester. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy this episode. Here is the faculty member.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. It's Isaiah's back here, and today I'm with Dr. Jennifer Morrison. I've taken a couple of their classes at SJSU before, and if you're a comm major, you've definitely seen a handful of emails from them. So just before we get started, is there anything you'd like to say about yourself?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me today. It's great to see you again outside of a classroom setting online. But I've been at San Jose State for about 17 years now. I started off as a just faculty member, and I've gone into being different program directors over the years. I went into the position of our internship director for 3 years, as well as now I am currently the advising director for our advising team in our department.
Oh, wow, sounds like a lot, actually. All right, cool. So today we're just going to be talking about the concept of spring as a season and the spring semester in college at SJSU and just tips and real life practices you can incorporate to kind of stay on top of everything. So the first question I have for you today is, do you have any sort of daily or weekly routines you implement into your everyday life just to stay organized and on top of everything?
Yes, I do actually. So when I think about my, daily routine that kind of feeds into my weekly routine, as a faculty member who teaches primarily online courses right now, I make sure that I check my email every morning, as well as my Canvas pages and my help forums, just to make sure that I'm giving my first kind of work of the day to my students. This is what I do, and I love being an instructor, and so I want to make sure that I'm there for them Monday through Friday, answering their questions before they go off and complete assignments in the late hours of the night or even over the weekend. That fits into my weekly routine as an advisor. As the advising director, I need to make sure that I'm available to our majors and even returning students. And emergencies can happen at any time. So I make sure that I check my email up until about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to make sure that if there are any emergencies that come through email or any emergencies that are, sent to me over my phone, those types of things from the front office, that I work on those and that I complete them in a timely manner because graduation deadlines, those types of things, I can't change those. So I want to make sure that I'm there to help out in any emergency cases as possible. We do have an advising team in our department, and so I do have two wonderful colleagues, Professor Ren Williams, as well as Dr. Felipe Gomez, who help with the advising. But every once in a while, I also want to check in with them. So I make sure that they have any issues or any problems that I'm there to support them as well. So for a weekly routine, I make sure that I'm available Monday through Friday from at least, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning until about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, so that I can handle any cases or start researching any solutions as soon as possible for my advising team. And then, of course, for any of our majors and minors who need special advising. But on top of that, I'm also grading assignments.
Yeah.
And so I always try to, keep any assignments that are due. I like to make sure that I'm offering feedback in a timely manner. So about, a week or two at the latest is when I want to return work. And so while I'm not answering students' questions and helping them with current coursework that they're working on, any past coursework that has been completed, I'm grading that throughout the week as well. So any downtime I have from emails or phone calls or advising with students, I am grading. And that happens daily. In terms of that, and this is maybe touched on in a future question of yours, but I try not to do work on the weekends. I reserve, work any time over the weekend for any work with my family, or any work that I want to do that's enriching to my career or my life. And so whether that's volunteer service work at an animal shelter or hanging out with my family over the weekends, those are the types of things that I reserve for the weekends. And I really kind of parse out that work life is Monday through Friday, and my weekends are where I can try to maintain some balance
Yeah.
with my family and personal life. Yeah.
Got it. So you mentioned carving out the weekends for dedicated time with your family and personal life, but you also mentioned like doing work between like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. What about the evenings? Like, do you use like 6 p.m. and beyond for personal life, or is that still kind of in the teaching world mode?
Well, it kind of merges together a bit. If I need to finish up some grading, if I'm behind on that, that's where my weeknight hours are spent. But also if there are things that I need to do with my family, appointments, things like that, then I take care of that in the evening too. Professional development stuff for me, that happens anytime. If I have time during the day, of course, if I'm free, I'm going to work on something, but usually I leave that for the evenings or the weekends as well. So I do have a bit of work blurring over into my personal and family life, just because I do have a full work schedule throughout the week that it's hard to find time to for extra stuff.
So do you have any other advice for balancing your work life and your professional life?
Yeah, I mean, I have a task list that I keep for myself, so that I prioritize it based off of things that are due immediately, things that maybe have a deadline within a month, and any that don't have any time certain deadlines that I can work on. And so that actually helps me out a bit. Working on projects each week rather than trying to complete one project all in one sitting helps me with time management as well. This is something that I try to implement in my teaching and my courses. So if there's a larger paper, let's say in our inquiry courses where a lot of research papers are due at the very end, I have smaller assignments set up in my classes so that students are starting to work on sections of the paper naturally. They're starting to conduct library research naturally. They're starting to conduct their own, empirical research early on so that when they get to that final few weeks of the semester, when they're having to put together that final paper, they have all the pieces. Now it's a matter of taking time, putting it together, making sure it's coherent. And I do the same thing with my work. I want to make sure that I'm working on it slowly so that I'm not missing anything. Do then have time at the end to review and proofread anything. I mean, mistakes happen, but I try to eliminate that as much as possible by working through projects slowly, and smaller chunks rather than just one big chunk, get it done and then turn it in.
Yeah, I actually remember that your method of teaching, I believe it was last semester, media criticism and analysis. I remember our final project was picking and analyzing any piece of popular media and just connecting its concepts to a concept discussed in the textbook. And I remember it was done like picking the media we want to analyze, then picking the chapter in the textbook we wanted to connect it to, and then finding our sources, and then writing like an introductory paper, and then just slowly putting it all together as the semester went on, which I felt like helped me really stay on top of it all.
Yeah, I do get feedback from students as well about what's working, what's not, and I always implement that into it as well because everyone is different in their time management. Whether students tell me, "Oh, I'd love more just reminders from you about assignments," or if I notice that if I'm falling behind in my work, or if I notice that a lot of students in my classes are falling behind, reminders help as well. And so sometimes in my calendar, I'll put in like reminder due dates that aren't necessarily the final due date for some of my projects, but it helps remind me like, oh, I should be by next Friday. I should have completed this one section of my project. And if I have these smaller deadlines built into my calendar to kind of when I wake up in the morning, I get that ding on my
Yeah.
computer when I turn it on. I'm like, oh, that's right, I've got that to complete, and so that helps as well. But it just depends on the project. It depends on what's happening in life. Sometimes I might not be feeling well. I might be sick with the flu, and that usually happens around the end of fall semester for
Yeah.
many of us, as winter comes in, and we then find ourselves not able to complete everything that we wanted to in a timely manner. And so having those small check-ins can help maintain the timeline that we want to stick to. But also, if we do fall behind, it helps us find other places where we can then maybe pick up speed, complete a little bit more work when we're feeling better. So, the what's happening in our lives is a big factor in how we deal with that time management. But setting these smaller deadlines for myself, putting them into Google Calendar so that it like sends me an email reminder or makes a little alert on my computer when I turn it on in the morning does help. And so I recommend that for anyone who feels that they're unable to maintain certain deadlines for larger projects. Make smaller deadlines for yourself and put them in your calendar.
Yeah, I feel it helps a lot actually. All right. So my last question is students, we are pretty fortunate at SJSU to have so many things at our disposal like the student union, the comm center, the MLK library. We have a lot of things on campus to kind of help us succeed. Do professors have access to those same tools, or do they have different tools? Do you guys like to use them a lot? Like just what kind of is at your disposal to kind of help you guys stay on top of everything?
We do. We have our Center for Faculty Development on campus that offers many workshops to help us with our writing, to help us with our conference presentations, to help us stay up to speed with different software as software is updated or, changed over time. So for any new or current faculty, they can always go there for support. We also have what we call faculty in residence for both tenure track and lecturers. Professor Ren Williams is our faculty in residence for lecturers, and they are there to offer support to faculty when they're just lost or they just have a question and they don't know where to go. I personally, access those resources when I first started teaching at San Jose State, but I haven't utilized many of those resources now. Um, I have, if I do venture into new different forms of technology to use for my class, I will then go to the source, which isn't usually on campus. I would say though that another big resource that I still use is eCampus. And I know a lot of students use this program as well on our campus, but they do offer a lot of support in terms of if you have any questions or concerns about using Canvas or Adobe, those types of things, you can reach out to them for support. And they also offer these partnership events. Like we have this huge Adobe day on campus, or virtually, that how it has been for the last few years, where faculty can go in and learn about these new innovative ways to use Adobe and their new technology in their courses. And I utilize that, as a big resource to help me stay on top of the curve and make things interesting in my classes. Um, and then I would say the last and third resource I use is it really comes not from San Jose State but from the larger CSU system. The chancellor's office has a variety of projects every year. And every once in a while, if I find a project really resonates with not only my teaching, but my advising on campus, then that's where I might sign up for some of those professional development workshops, and those usually are over the summer, over the winter session, and even sometimes during the semester, depending on when they are. And I jump for the chance to participate in some of those. A lot of those, though, have been more oriented towards advising. And so that's where I've been doing a lot of the extra work there with those support programs. But yeah, if anything comes my way that sounds interesting, I always jump on an opportunity to learn more about it and then sign up if I'm able to. But other than that, though, I don't really reach out anymore to certain programs just because I've already exhausted all the opportunities there. I've gone through all the tutorials and all of the workshops. So having been around so long, I think that's the reason why. I do offer advice to a lot of faculty, a lot of new faculty who come in that say, I'm struggling with this. And then that's where I'll refer them to a lot of the programs on campus, like Center for Faculty Development, our faculty and residents, as well as other departments on campus that can help them with what they need, as well as just offer them some, advice from my own standpoint. I share my course materials with my colleagues, if they're, if they want new ideas on assignments, those types of things. And we do have a lot of professional development talks in our department that usually happen right after our faculty meeting. So it's very convenient for a lot of us to sit around and talk about certain topics and learn from one another as well. And I definitely utilize that resource, but that's more of an internal resource that's been built in over the years, because we have a great group of faculty in our department that love working together.
Yeah, all right. I think that's pretty much everything I had to ask. Thank you so much for your time. You provided a lot of insight, especially for me personally, just having taken your classes before and knowing how you go about things. It kind of helped to connect the dots. Like, well, oh, that's why we did everything like this. That's why we kind of progressively work on the final the way we did.
Yeah. Yeah, we do, professors, we do have a larger plan in mind, but sometimes it's hard to communicate that larger plan when you're only seeing the small chunks at the very beginning of the course. But I'm glad to hear it all made sense in the end. But we always we try our best, and we do revamp it as our world changes, and as our world changes, our students change. And so 10 years from now, students will be wanting very different activities, different experiences in the classroom, whether online or in person. And so we're always growing, and I hope that everyone else continues to grow as well.
Yeah, and again, thank you so much for your time and insight. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful semester.
Thank you. You too.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Thanks once again, everyone, for listening. Thank you to Dr. Jennifer Morrison and Michelle for agreeing to these interviews. And as always, thank you to Miranda and Rosanna for all the help. Really appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in the next one.